and welcome to Just the News. Today, before we bring you the latest from Afghanistan, we bring you a story that's much closer to home. The city of Shillong in Meghalaya has been in curfew for the last 2 days, and there's been no internet. There are people dressed in black with their faces covered riding through the streets of Shillong that will make you think you're looking at visuals of Kabul, but you're not. This is in India. So here's our first story today on what's going on, really, in Meghalaya. But to begin with, the Meghalayan government yesterday ordered a judicial inquiry into the death of Chesterfield Thunkyu, a surrendered former militant from a banned insurgent group. He was killed in a police raid in his home in Shillong on the 13th of August. Following his death, tension has escalated in Shillong, leading to violence on Sunday. Now, petrol bombs were thrown at the Meghalaya Chief Minister's residence on Sunday after violence broke out. What was initially a 2-day curfew till 5 a.m. this morning has been extended until 5 a.m. tomorrow morning in Shillong. According to NDTV, mobile internet services have also been cut off in several parts of the state. No one was hurt in the incident at the Chief Minister's house because his house was vacant at the time. A vehicle from Assam was attacked in Shillong, seriously injuring the driver. Several incidents of stone pelting have been reported in several parts of the city. GP Singh, the special DGP Assam Police, in a tweet said, and I quote, "Curfew has been imposed in Shillong due to law and order issues. People from Assam are advised not to travel to Shillong until the curfew continues," end tweet. Now, this is what has happened and why this is playing out right now. A quick background for you. There was a law and order breakdown in Shillong after the killing of a surrendered former militant of the outlawed Hanitwap National Liberation Council, the HNLC. That was Chesterfield Thunkyu in a police operation 2 days ago that took place in his home. Now, to give you a quick background, HNLC is a tribal militant group banned by the central government of India. The group's aim is to make Meghalaya exclusive to the Khasi and the Jentaya tribes and remove all outsiders from the land and effectively secess Meghalaya from the rest of India, so break it away from the rest of India, which is why it's a banned organization. According to the police, Thunkyu was allegedly involved in a IED blast, which is an improvised explosive device. It's a homemade bomb, effectively, that injured 2 people in Shillong last week and he was killed in what the police call retaliatory firing in the early hours of August 13th in his home. Now, following that incident, tensions have been brewing in the state. His family described the killing as cold-blooded murder. Local residents accused the police of staging a fake encounter. On Sunday, during the funeral, hundreds of people joined the funeral procession in Shillong. Local organizations called for a Black Flag Day to protest his killing. There were banners put up in Shillong demanding justice for him. In a twist of events, the Meghalaya Home Minister Lakman Rumbi, meanwhile, resigned amid violence in Shillong. The State Home Minister resigned, and this is what his letter said. The letter that he sent to the Chief Minister said, and I quote, "I hereby express shock at the incident where Chesterfield Thunkyu was killed following a raid of the police at his residence, exceeding the lawful tenets of the law. I would like to request you to relieve the Home Police Department from me with immediate effect. This will facilitate a free and fair inquiry taken by the government to bring out the truth in the incident," end quote. The Meghalaya government has suspended the police personnel who allegedly abandoned their service weapons during the violence. A day after the violence, the Chief Minister Sangma said, and I quote, "What happened was unacceptable, whether on police personnel's part or that of the individuals who picked up those weapons then and used them. We are very firm on this and will take action on this." According to NDTV, a video of a group of people masked torching police vehicles has emerged since the violence. Some of those people involved were reportedly carrying police-issued weapons as they drove automobiles around the city. Now, tensions continue to escalate in Shillong, and we will bring you more updates on it as and when we have them. Let's move on now to an update from Afghanistan. India has successfully evacuated its entire embassy staff from Kabul this morning in the middle of the escalating humanitarian crisis. A special Indian Air Force aircraft brought back the envoy who is the ambassador, along with his staff and the members of the Indo-Tibetan border police troops who were guarding the mission. The Indian ambassador to Afghanistan, Rudendra Tandon, told reporters after landing in India, and I quote, "We are a very large mission of 192 personnel evacuated from Afghanistan literally within a period of 3 days in a very orderly fashion in 2 phases." Mr. Tandon also described the situation in Afghanistan as fluid, adding that a small number of Indian nationals remain in the country and that the government is continuously monitoring the situation to bring them back. The Ministry of External Affairs of India has set up an Afghanistan cell to coordinate any other repatriation. This comes after India said that it would facilitate the movement of Sikh and Hindus from Afghanistan, Afghan citizens who happen to be Sikh or Hindu who wish to leave their country. The Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson said, and I quote, "We are in constant touch with the representatives of Afghan Sikh and Afghan Hindu communities. We will facilitate their repatriation to India if they want to leave Afghanistan. There's also a large number of Afghans who have been our partners in the promotion of our mutual development, education, and people-to-people endeavors. We will stand by them." End quote. The Ministry of External Affairs have made no mention of any other refugees that India is willing to take in who do not belong to either the Sikh or the Hindu communities. The Taliban has declared amnesty across Afghanistan and has urged government staff to come back to work. So basically, they've said that if anybody was working with the previous government, they won't take revenge against them, and they've invited them to come back to work. This comes after chaos at Kabul airport with people trying to flee the country. In fact, in a statement to one of the international news channels, the Taliban representative speaking out of Doha said he was surprised as to why people were trying to flee the country because, according to him, they had nothing to worry about. In a Taliban statement said, and I quote, "Those working in any part or any department of the government should resume their duties with full satisfaction and continue their duties without any fear." Apparently, they also, have put out statements saying the women can come back to work as well. According to reports, post the takeover, schools, universities remain closed. Few women really have been out in the street. Men have shed their Western clothes and taken up now traditional outfits again. There has been heavy patrolling of the Taliban fighters on the streets of Kabul. They've made their presence felt very strongly in all parts of the city. In the meantime, President Joe Biden has said that he stands squarely behind the US's exit from Afghanistan as he faces severe criticism from across the world over the Taliban's lightning conquest of the war-torn country. Effectively, America spent 20 years, billions of dollars, and lost several lives to replace the Taliban and now effectively hand the country back to the Taliban. The president, making a statement publicly for the first time since this entire thing played out, said, and I quote, "How many more American lives is it worth?" End quote. He also said, "If anything, the developments over the past week reinforce that ending US military involvement in Afghanistan was now the right decision. American troops cannot and should not be fighting a war and dying in a war that Afghan forces are not willing to fight for themselves." End quote. The UN Security Council met on Monday and called for talks to create a new government in Afghanistan and to end fighting and abuse after UN Chief Antonio Guterres warned of chilling curbs on human rights and mounting violations against women and girls. The 15-member council issued a statement and agreed by consensus to use all tools at its disposal to suppress the global terrorist threat from Afghanistan and guarantee respect to human rights. Of course, you can take a look at our whole story that we put up yesterday on the entire movement of the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. It's in our story on YouTube. And on to other news right now from India. An update on the Pegasus row that's before the Supreme Court. The central government told the Supreme Court today that it does not want to file any additional information before the Supreme Court on the Pegasus issue because it involves national security. The central government added that it is willing to place details before the expert committee that will be created by the central government on this issue. On Monday, effectively, the petitioners highlighted the fact that the central government had given very limited information before the court and did not answer the fundamental question of whether or not the government or any of its agencies had in fact ever used Pegasus. The Solicitor General of India, Tushar Mehta, who is the lawyer who represents the Indian government in Supreme Court, basically said that whatever the central government has filed is sufficient and they don't feel the need to file anything else. Any other further information is uncalled for. The Solicitor General said that that if the government is disclosing in public that it is not using a particular encryption software, terror organizations will take advantage of this information to change their communication settings. He said that such matters cannot be placed in an affidavit and cannot be made matter subject of public debate. At the same time, the Solicitor General added that the government will place all details before the proposed technical committee, which he assured will consist only of neutral officers. So to break down all of this, the central government did refuse to answer this question in Parliament, saying that the matter was before the Supreme Court. It has refused to answer the question in Supreme Court, saying that the matter is of national importance and national security. It has effectively said it will only answer this question to a committee set up by itself. So it has agreed to answer this question to itself and to nobody else. That's where we are right now. The matter will be heard again in the next 10 days. One more story out from outside the country. France and Portugal have become the latest European countries to face devastating wildfires that have torn across the continent during these scorching, dry conditions. Remember, we've been tracking climate change very closely for you. We'll be continuing to bring you stories on climate change. We'll also have a separate bulletin run by Amitabh Balachandra on climate change. According to Al Jazeera, thousands of people in southern France have had to be evacuated as the wildfire rages in Saint-Tropez. Quickly spreading fire broke out on Monday about 100 kilometers from the Mediterranean city of Toulon and has already razed more than 3,500 hectares of forest and shrubland as of this morning. Wildfires have flared across this summer in Greece, Turkey, Spain, Portugal, Algeria, and Morocco. And of course, we're including one sports story because my colleague Shubhankar insisted that we take this story as well. India bowled out England for 120 runs in the second innings of the test within 2 sessions on the last day to win the Lord's Test by 151 runs. With this, India took a 1-0 lead in the 5-test match series. Earlier in the day, India declared their second innings at 298 for 8, following an unbeaten 9-wicket partnership for 89 runs between Shami and Bumrah. Mohammad Siraj finished as a standout bowler with 4 wickets, while Bumrah grabbed 3 for 33. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for listening. We will continue to bring you updates on what's happening in Meghalaya, what's happening in Afghanistan, and of course, what's happening in our country.